Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Commissioners' meeting for October. We're going to call to order the Lander County Commissioners meeting, Town Board of Battle Mountain and Austin Board of County Highway Commissioners for October 10th, 2019. We'd ask now that you'd all stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Brian, if you might lead us in that this morning.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We do have a reminder on your cell phones. If you would be sure and mute those for us, please. And then join us in a moment of silence. Thank you. The Lander County Commissioners may break for lunch from 12 o'clock to 1:15. Any agenda item may be taken out of order, may be combined for consideration by the public body, and items may be pulled or removed from the agenda at any time. We will now begin with our Commissioners' reports on meetings, conferences, and seminars attended. And Commissioner Allen, I'll start with you at that end, if you might bring us up to date on anything you'd like to share.
13th of September, I attended the Humboldt River Basin Water Authority. I did go to the NACO conference. We also had a Central Nevada Regional Water Authority meeting at that time. And then this past Tuesday, I attended the LEPC meeting. Not really much to report with those.
Oh, yes, I also attended the NACO meeting and the Central Nevada Regional Water Authority, and it's pretty straightforward, standard things that's going on there. From one meeting to the next, it's truly the same. They approved, the one thing that they did do is they approved the membership for the Humboldt County into the Central Nevada Water Authority, so that was one thing that was new that they did do, so.
Thank you. Art,
Yeah,
anything?
I attended the Sulwalk meeting in Sparks, and there were two topics that really got discussed. One was the 2477 roads, and the other was septic tanks. There's a lot of concern across the state on septics because there are too many in areas, and the builder developers are misusing it across the state, so SULAC is going to be tasked with trying to straighten that out. On the 2477 roads, the governor's office asked SULAC to come up with a procedure because we have conflicting decisions. We have one decision where a road is a 2477 road if it's been open for 10 years. We have another decision that you cannot block off 2477 roads or two tracks. And then we have one decision where there was a road that the county maintained through a ranch. The ranch sold and the new owners blocked it off. Well, what happened there is BLM and the county came up with a variance and they built around the ranch house proper, and I don't think anybody wants to open up a road right in front of somebody's ranch house. So hopefully we can come up with a procedure that's fair and equitable for everyone. So those are the two big issues in the state lands for now.
Thank you. I did attend the Kingston Town Board meeting on September 19th. They've had quite a bit of vandalism around their parks area that they're trying to handle right now, which is always sad. And of course, our annual NACO conference on the 25th and 26th. Just a couple things I wanted to share. They did several good educational sessions and presentations. We had federal policy update from our national NACO legislative folks. cybersecurity briefing, county fiscal health and stability, and preparing for the unmanageable. We did honor one of our senators, David Parks, as legislature of the year, who has worked with NACO so closely all year long. And we honored our Humboldt Commissioner, County Jim French, who will be stepping into the presidency next year. He was inducted into our NACO's honor roll for his commitment and being the advocate for counties and his community. He's been active in so many different committees and sat on the Western Regional Conference and also attended many meetings in Washington DC. So he received that award. On some of it, we have quite a lengthy discussion regarding the overhauling of our bail system, and actually Judge Denise gave us a little bit of a background on some of that. We'll be doing jury trials now, and we actually in our justice courts, and we also will be doing a new bail matrix that kind of takes a decision away from the judge of whether they're going to OR or not, if it meets that. So we've got some costs that have been pushed on down to the counties that we have to take a look at, and I know everybody's looking into that and will come before us. But I do want to mention that all these educational programs that were there for our conference are on the NACO website. So if any of you want to look at any of the sessions or presentations, they're posted. You just go on the training page, and the resource menu has everything on there for you. We also, at our annual NACO meeting, voted in our second vice president, who will be moving on up into the presidency, of course, and that will be, let's see, he comes in as first vice president of 2022, and that's Bob Lucy from Washoe County. And that's basically I wanted to share. I thought hopefully those that attended found it very educational. We also managed to have some fun along the side, and at our president's reception we did do an animal awareness evening. We were able to actually dedicate over $2,500 to the different shelters and rescue groups that take our county dogs when they're on death row, so we don't have to euthanize. So that was exciting. Moving on to staff reports. Good morning, Keith.
Morning. First thing is, I've had several meetings with JUB and the FAA regarding our airport projects. We are in the planning phase right now, two of our projects, one in Battle Mountain, one in Austin. And the FAA has actually offered up an additional $2.3 million to do some more, to do additional projects. These projects have to do with our taxiways, increasing the depth of the taxiways for the air tankers with BLM. So in a future meeting, I'll be coming to ask for the matching funds at 93.75%. To see if get that money put into the budget in order to proceed with these FAA projects. I did attend the NACO conference as well. We had a strong presence of Lander County employees at the conference, which was beneficial to all of them. We have our flu pod coming up on the 16th in Battle Mountain at the Peters building. So make a note of that. We have a swim-a-thon this Saturday at 9 a.m. at the rec center. We also have 3 of the kids in the swim team that will be going to the state for swim meet competition. I did receive a letter this week from Garrett Baker. His last day at the golf course was October 6th. So he's terminated his contract with the county for services at the golf course. I also have several updates. Shirvey was gonna come during public comment, and he was gonna give an update on several of the things we have going with BLM, one of them being the purchase of the golf course. So, if he doesn't show up, I'll catch it at the public comment at the end and give you guys an update. I do have several other updates that I wanted to go over, having to do with the levy and this building and some other things, but, talk to Ted, and like to do that in a litigation afterwards in a closed session. And, give you some pretty in-depth update on what's going on. Thank you.
I have a question on the FAA grants.
Yes,
It was just about a year ago, I think, that the federal government said we've got some 100% grants for some of the smaller airports of
Yes.
the different states. And I know the JUB put in for us, and I think the last thing I remember, there were 6 airports that were vying for the money, and 2 of them were Lander.
that's right.
You're right, what happened to those? Were there
We haven't received any final word on those as of, yesterday, when I did have a phone call with JUB. One thing I did forget, I had got an email from Rob Rule, and they are moving in the weaponry, I guess, their training props into Austin. They moved in several tanks and armored personnel carriers for the training. So they are down there preparing that area for their training over the next year or so.
Yes, they have started that, and we've got a lot of helicopters that have been coming in and out, so once we straighten out the gas part, so we can sell them gas, hopefully, that'll be okay.
I did have a discussion yesterday with the military, and I think we're on a good track with that for the purchase, I hope. Or the government end of it, yes,
So I do
Thank you.
have a question, Keith.
yes.
You said 93.7% match. We would pay the 6.3%.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, I'm sorry. The FAA pays the 93.75%, and then we pay that balance of 6%. So it's a very good program. We get a lot done. They have acknowledged, FAA has acknowledged that Lander County is a quote, good customer for FAA. We get a lot of money from them every year, and we match that well, and they've done a lot of work at both of our airports. So they support our air tanker program very well. That's why we're making the runways much deeper to accommodate the heavy air tankers during fire season. Thank you.
Yeah, we had some problems with that because they wouldn't allow it for a while, and we really had to go to bat to
Yes.
see.
Yeah. And we do continue to work on our 1230 runway, our crosswind runway. We've ordered an actual wind machine that they're gonna set up out there to show the wind direction, speed, the time of day, and so forth. Because we don't wanna lose that. The FAA wants to shut that down, and we can't shut it down. We really need to work
So we
toward
do
that.
have the wind machine,
It's been ordered, yes.
approximate delivery date?
It was 6 weeks, 2 weeks ago, so we're looking at about another month.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah, so we're still working on that, and hopefully we'll get that straightened out.
Thank you. We're moving now into public comment. This is for non-agendized items only. Persons are invited to submit comments in writing and/or attend and make comments on any non-agenda item at the board meeting, if any, and discussion of those comments at the discretion of the board. All public comment may be limited to 3 minutes per person, again, at the discretion of the board. Reasonable restrictions may be placed on public comments based upon time, place, and manner, but public comment based upon viewpoint may not be restricted. And we do have public comment this morning. Yes, John, come on out. Good morning. Timing is excellent.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is John Shirvey. I'm the field manager for the BLM Mount Lewis Field Office, and I wanted to provide an update on some projects of local interest. The first one is the Argenta Grazing Permit Renewal. The update on that is that have through many years of working with the local grazing permittees and our state office, who is going through the environmental analysis team at the state office, we've been able to issue the draft environmental assessment. The framework for the, this environmental analysis was again done by the Grazing Permit Renewal team out of the state office. That was done intentionally to remove, pretty much remove our office from this process. The district manager, Doug Furtado, has essentially removed himself out of the environmental analysis, and while it's being done through the BLM Nevada State Office. So the state office, the Grazing Permit Renewal team, will be providing us, as time goes on, the recommendations to move forward with the decision. So the environmental analysis looks at different grazing alternatives. And some of them are required by legal precedents or by law, and some of them are developed through the issues, the environmental issues. In this case, we have 6 different grazing alternatives. There's one that's called the no action, where things just stay the same under the current authorizations. Another alternative is the one that used the settlement agreement that was in place for 3 years as a way to move forward under the grazing framework. The third alternative is based on what the applicants, the grazing permittees, developed. The fourth one is an adaptive management alternative. The fifth one is a scenario that looks at reduced livestock grazing. And then the fourth one, I'm sorry, the sixth one is what looked at as a no grazing alternative, where there's no grazing whatsoever on the allotment. So all those are looked at in this document. The public comment period, we're in the middle of a 30-day public comment period. More than likely that'll get extended for another period of time. There's a lot of interest, not just locally, but really through the western U.S. There's a lot of groups that are going to be commenting on this, so we're going to be dealing with probably many thousands of comments. The way we move forward with that is once we address all the comments, the Grazing Permit Renewal team will make a recommendation on what to select and how to move forward. So we're anticipating, of course, a lot of appeals and litigation. That's it on that. Any questions? And again, well, just one more thing on that. So any alternative that we must select that must meet what's called the rangeland health standards. So whatever grazing scenario is going to be on the allotment has to show progress toward meeting these rangeland health standards, which is standards that were developed consistent with the regulations through our Resource Advisory Council in this region. The second project.
I have a question real quick
yes.
on that, sorry
Yep.
about that. So no, if I'm remembering right from the meeting, the different ranchers can have different selection of those options, correct? Or is it one fits all?
No, that's a good question. So there's a way that we'll be able to select various components of those different alternatives.
For each ranch?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, for
Very
different
good.
permittees. The second project that we've been working on for quite some time is the golf course. Currently, the golf course has been permitted and authorized under what's called an RMPP, a Recreation and Public Purpose Act. It was a patent given to the county, I believe, back in the 80s. With that came certain restrictions on what could be done at the golf course. So over time, we found out that just isn't working, that there's put some constraints on the county or the contractor who might be working out there. And so we've been able to find, thanks to Mr. Herrera and Keith, we've been able to find a path forward to move out of that framework.
John, let me,
yep.
excuse me, I'm gonna interrupt you on this part because
Sure.
part of that is on our resolution. Are you going to be here a little bit when we get to the resolution to comment on that part of it.
So what's the resolution
The
covering?
resolution for our public lands, and of course, part of that is included in that
The
resolution.
public lands bill,
Yes.
or?
Uh-huh.
That's a separate process, so the way, I think the way the county was looking at this is they're gonna have two different approaches to handle that public land, either
Okay,
taking
so
it
the
out
one
of.
you're talking about is the one that's gone out, that you finally decided is gone. The tough part is when you do it in public comment, and we really can't go excessively to make comments and any action on it. But I know you're in that 30-day public comment on the BLM, right? And our purchase. What's the best way to handle that? Cause we need the update, but can we put it on?
Well, you can listen to his public comment, but you can't digress and talk about these other things.
Right.
He's just updating you on the fact that the appraisal came in and that we're proceeding along those
Okay,
roads.
I just wish it'd been an agenda item, is what I'm saying, so we could discuss it more, but please.
And that's fine,
Please
we
go
can,
ahead.
and I can be on as an agenda on the next meeting or whatever you need.
Go ahead, no, we appreciate the update,
So I guess to clarify, there's the lands bill, that's a separate process that you can acquire public land through the legislative process. This part, what I'm updating you on
It's the purchase.
is the purchase through the really a regulatory process. It exists through one process called the RMPP, and that's what was done in the 80s. Because of limitations, constraints that process put on the overall management of the course, we thought it would be best to find another route to just remove BLM from any ownership issues. So it's invoking what's called the reversionary clause under the RMPP, and we're going to take it out of the RMPP framework and offer it to the county through a direct land sale, and that's through the lands regulations. So that's what this EA is addressing. It's addressing the BLM's authority to do this under the lands and realty regulations, and it's just a process to go through. The EA is establishing the regulatory framework and what is going to happen as we go through this process if we do complete the sale. And where the appraisal comes because of the requirements under the lands and realty regulations. So we just received a preliminary appraisal, and I think we could probably get into a better discussion under a formalized agenda item in the next few meetings. We haven't finalized that yet on our end, so maybe once we finalize that, then it becomes a public document, and I can provide whatever information is needed at that point.
Well, I appreciate you mentioning that there's restrictions on how we had to address the running of the golf course, because that's been problematic in the past. If we can get rid of that, and the county just has free reign on how they want to do it, that'll make it a lot easier for us.
Yes, yeah, I agree. So I think we're looking at, even though we're in this end of what the NEPA process is, the EA, we still probably have about I'll say 4 to 6 month process to get to the end on issuing a new patent.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, John.
Thank you,
Yep.
John.
Any other public comment? Good morning, Sadie.
Good morning. Sadie Solomon, Lander County Clerk. I just wanted to give you a heads up. I received a memorandum yesterday from the Secretary of State. It is on a petition to amend the Nevada Constitution, C-01-219. The petition's proposed to realign the senator and the assembly legislative membership by reducing each by one. Also, It would be shortening the senator terms to 2 years. And also have 5 senators elected from each of the 4 federal designated U.S. representative districts and propose new senator residency requirements. Along with that, we had to send out an email to Dominion, our election company. And so there's a cost, of course, with that, and the county gets to pick up that cost if that does go through. So I just wanted to state, in order to implement the requirements of this petition, if it goes through, we would be forced to implement the use of the ranked choice voting in the county. This would come at a cost to purchase the necessary software, licensing from Dominion Voting Systems, and for annual elections set up prior to every election cycle. So this is additional cost than what we've already have brought forward and still bringing forward. So the licensing is $70,000, and then for the setup fee for them to come for each election would be $2,575. And also I just wanted to state, it appears that the ranked choice voting process would be used solely for the Senate district. However, the language is not absolutely clear on this issue. It could also be assumed that the primary would still be utilized in Nevada elections. However, the use of the ranked choice voting, if used in all contents on the ballot, has the potential to eliminate the primary election altogether. If this is the case, there could be a potential large cost savings to taxpayers. However, the language is not clear. So that is my update to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sadie. Moving on to our consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and may be acted upon by the Board of County Commissioners with one action, without extensive discussion. Any member of the board or any citizen may request that an item be taken from the consent agenda, discussed and acted upon separately during the meeting. Consent agenda materials are available at the Lander County Clerk's office for viewing, and copies are available for a nominal charge. Number 1, approval of October 10th, 2019 agenda notice. Number 2, approval of May 9th, 2019 meeting minutes. Number 3, approval of May 23rd, 2019 meeting minutes. Number 4, approval of June 27th, 2019 meeting minutes. Number 5, approval of July 11th, 2019 meeting minutes. Number 6, approval of July 25th, 2019 meeting minutes. Number 7, approval of August 8th, 2019 meeting minutes. Number 8, approval of August 22nd, 2019 meeting minutes. Number 9, approval of September 19th, 2019 agenda notice. And number 10, approval of the payment of bills. Okay, with that, there are several meeting minutes we do not have, several things we need to pull. We need to pull number 1, the agenda notice for today. We need to pull number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, minutes that we do not have. Number 8 we do have and is okay. Number 9 we need to approve. We need to pull because it's not an agenda notice. It should read meeting minutes for September 19th. And we do need to pull the 10th. So that leaves us with a motion, please, to approve the amended agenda, which will be number 2, May 9th meeting minutes. Number 8, August 22nd meeting minutes. And then number 9 should read September 19th meeting minutes. So those 3, I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Brian. Seconded that. Any other discussion? Hope I didn't make that too confusing. I'm sorry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now we'll go back to the other one. The approval of October 10th, 2019 agenda notice. And we had to pull that one because of the number 9 mistake. So we need to approve that as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Brian made the motion, Kathy seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going to move to the payment of bills. So we have some checks that are for each one of us. So the first one, I only have one for you, Judy, is that right? 205028?
That's correct.
Okay, so I need a motion for all the bills except check number 205028, which is to Judy. And let's see how we can. No, I'm gonna do it this way. I'm just gonna move, I need a motion that we approve the check for Judy, 205028.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Brian made the motion, Kathy seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I
Aye.
abstain.
Okay, and that was for travel, Judy?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next one is for Kathy. So it's check number 204882. I need a motion to approve that check.
So moved.
Second.
Brian made that motion and Art seconded it. Okay, and that's for,
It's for travel for a relative within the county, so I'm abstaining from that.
thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I abstain.
Okay, and Kathy's abstaining, thank you. Okay, my check for travel is number 204934, so I need a motion for that check.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Brian made the motion, Kathy seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I will abstain from that one, thank you. And the next checks are actually to Brian. Check number 204866, 204936, 205054, and 204931. And those are for,
The first three you read were payments to my employer. The last one was a payment to,
It was for an insurance mix-up, and Keith can explain if necessary.
that's fine, need a motion for those 4 checks?
So moved.
Second.
Kathy made the motion, Art seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I abstain for the reasons noted.
Thank you. Okay, so I think that pulls everything out. I need a motion to approve the other bills.
so moved.
Second.
Thank you, Brian made the motion, Kathy seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. Okay, and with that done, we move to number 1 on the agenda. Commissioners, for possible action on whether to lift the current burn ban within Lander County. So my first question is, have our local BLM lifted
Yes.
their burn ban?
Yes, they have, I checked with
Local
them.
BLM never had a burn ban.
Well, yeah, they don't have one
It
in
was north of I-80,
Right.
was Elko, not Battle Mountain.
Yeah, there's not one with BLM
Right.
or NDF.
Okay, so, I know there's still a lot of problems with fires and everything, so, but they are lifting it. I know Las Vegas lifted, Elko lifted an ideal, so it's up to the commissioners whether you'd like to lift it or leave it on for a little bit longer.
I'm fine with lifting it.
Me too.
Okay, is that a motion, Brian?
Yeah. Make a motion, we lift it.
Thank you.
No second.
Okay, motion to lift the fire ban by Commissioner Sparks and Kathy seconded that. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes and we lift the burn ban. And we do have the vehicle here? Good, thank you. Number 2, Commissioners, for possible action on an update on the 150-year celebration of Battle Mountain in Lander County, Nevada, and how the Lander County Board of Commissioners wish to proceed.
Well, I was gonna say, that last meeting I was out ill.
Oh.
Carlo
would
was-
like to give an update.
Can we get an update, please? Sorry, I was out, that made me sick.
It's okay, I actually printed it off
Yeah.
just in case you called me. So from the beginning, there are 9 committee members.
I don't know if you'd like me to list those names or not, but there's 9 committee members on the 150th year celebration. We decided to split it into a few events. At first it was 4, we've come down to 3. The first being the Fall Festival on the 25th of October. The second being a spring cook-off, which will be at the Cookhouse Museum, Dutch oven cook-off, music throughout the eras, performers, cowboy poetry, vendors, things like that. And the last, we decided to mesh with the 4th of July celebration and just make it larger and grander than we have before. Let me see, so far, I know a lot about the Fall Festival. Plans are still coming together for the other ones. There are 34 booth signups right now, which is a lot. We are opening it up to the 501c3s, groups, school clubs, things like that to man the booths so that they can get some donations towards their groups, clubs, whatever. So it's almost kind of turned into a little bit of a mini community, how do you call it, community support type of festival as well. I believe, I still need to talk to Sheriff again, but I believe I still have them on board, as well as the Volunteer Fire Department, LEPSI, Search and Rescue, EMS, to bring over some vehicles, show them to the kids, talk to them about what they do, just so the whole community can get familiarized with a lot of the different things we have here that they may not know about. I believe that's about it. I don't know if there's anything else I need to extend on with that.
Probably be coming for some additional funding, a little later, but right now we're
Possibility for maybe just a little bit,
Thank you.
not a whole lot for the spring one.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
We appreciate the update, and we will all hope for nice weather.
Madam Chair.
Oh, we will move to the rec center if there is nasty.
Item number 2, Dr. Wilcourt is in a procedure right now, so if we could just move that to the end, and if he's not available at the end, we can cover some things, or we can table it till the next meeting. And
Number 3?
Number 2. Oh, I'm sorry, number 3, you're right.
Number 3 now.
Yeah.
I have some information on that, just a little bit of information on number 3, if we just want to talk a little bit about it, for the Amtrak.
Yeah, well, he had some things he wanted to say
Okay,
as well,
then
so.
we'll just wait, I'll
yeah.
just hold my stuff and.
Oh, okay.
Okay, for right now, we'll just pass over number 3,
Okay,
and
all right, thank you.
we'll pick that up again towards the end to see if we want to continue with that. Number 4, Commissioners for possible action, update on rental costs of the Civic Center for various agencies and whether the Lander County Board of Commissioners wants to modify the rate schedule. I'm sorry, I didn't get any rate schedule in my backup.
I didn't either.
No, I don't think any of us did.
I didn't either.
Okay. Well, we can set, this has to do with the 501c3s and I am really sorry.
Okay, why don't we defer this to
No,
next?
because I have
Yeah.
people here to speak
Yeah.
on the behalf of it, because it's more than just the rate setting of the rates. It's the backup information on how we got where we're at right now. And I would like them to at least be able to speak on that behalf.
You
You
know,
know,
the
we
only
get-
thing on here it says is for possible action to update on rental costs. So let's,
With-
we'll go ahead with the history on it, but
Okay.
we can't take any action then.
Okay, well, that's fine. At least if we can get that done.
You did get the letter from Kathy Ancho in your email, correct?
And so everybody understands it's not me, it was the other Kathy
Yeah,
Ancho that
right.
wrote it too, in reference to the Civic Center. There was a little bit of confusion that it was me writing it to myself, so I just wanna make sure that everybody understands it came from Kathy L. Ancho. And so I've asked Dave Layton, who was the county commissioner when all of this stuff began, to speak on behalf as well as the letter from Kathy Ancho. So Dave, would you pretty please come up?
Morning, Dave.
Morning. I'm David Layton, as former county commissioner, back in early 1980s when we acquired the Civic Center. It came about through Flashman Foundation when they closed out that foundation, and the money had to be spent within a certain amount of time. John Marvel, our assemblyman at the time, contacted us as commissioners and said, this money is available. You have just a matter of weeks to make a decision if you want the Civic Center or not. For the funding, we accepted it and formed an ad hoc committee that worked on it. And when we got the Civic Center, it was turned back over to us as commissioners to run. And in the spirit of the Maxey Flashman, we made the determination at that time that there would be no fees charged to nonprofits and to county use of it. Any individuals that wanted to use it for like weddings or funerals, we did charge a deposit for a cleaning fee that was refundable if it was cleaned after their use of it. But it was built for community service and for community use and not to be used as a money-making or rental type facility.
And so, with that being said, and I did lots of research as far as the Flashman Foundation to try to find out the different things that foundation did, and all of them were civic, had to do with civic. UNR, their library, was a lot of that money came from that as well. The beginning of Lake Tahoe to keep it blue, that money was all there spent to for civic things. And like David was telling us earlier, he received money scholarship for schooling from that foundation as well. So I mean, I just wanted to make sure that people understood that this was a civic-minded thing, and that it was to maintain the money that we received was to maintain the building, not to make money off of it, and try to figure out where we can go from there. But the government, like the county things and 501c3s, was meant to not charge those agencies and those organizations, so we can figure out from this information where we go from that as far as how we charge.
So you want this back on the
I
next
do
agenda?
want it back on, please.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
do I. I've been saying this for 5 years now. The only difference is if you have an activity and there's alcohol involved, then
Oh,
you have
absolutely.
to charge $500 and they have to have their insurance.
Oh, absolutely.
But a 50C3, the nonprofit organizations, I've been arguing that they shouldn't have to pay since I came on the commission.
I'd also add that part of that Civic Center was the library in conjunction with it. And that is county library, and it's always supposed to be kept there as part of that building.
Yeah, the assurances, when we originally took the money, that was part of the
For
assurances.
insurance that
It was-
library would be there.
You know, funny that how they did things then is it was more of a shake of a hand, this is what we're doing. They didn't do a list and say these are like they do now to keep people, to keep their words. They just said, you know, that's why I had to go back and try to find people that were there so they could say these with what the original assurances were, and that weren't something that I was just making up, you know, to go, you know, this is what was originally said, and I wanted that kept that way. So, and I so appreciate you coming and speaking, and I appreciate Kathy Ancho's letter so we could try to get this straightened out to what the original assurances on that building were. And thank you very, very much for coming.
Well, we also appreciate the decision that the board made at
At
that
that
time to do
time.
it, because it was a quick decision.
Thank you for your
so-
service as a county
so,
commissioner, thank
indeed.
you.
Along with that, since we've commented, I also want to make it clear that the southern part of the county also benefited, because we took the old Methodist church and made that into a community. It's now called the Emma Nevada Hall. But again, it's for all of we do everything from funerals to weddings to workshops and conferences, and there is no charge. So we also have continued in the spirit of what that was given in the South.
Because, yeah, those came into conjunction with
Yes.
each other,
Thank
so,
you.
thank you very much.
Number 5, County Manager. For possible action to modify a franchise agreement between Lander County and Nevada Energy. And I see we kind of threw everything in a flux because Nevada Energy told us they'd never had any county vote to take off that that extra cost before. And so, if you've read the information in there, they need it modified a little bit. I think one of the things is that the time frame. So if you have something in mind for a time frame, they're looking at perhaps the first of the year might be very compatible. And also, if we want to add on, at least in the first notice that goes out, that this tax is being taken off because of the decision of the Lander County Commissioners. So, is that it?
That's it.
Okay.
Covers it.
Very good. Sounds good.
So with that, I'm looking for a motion. I will entertain a motion if you're okay
I'll
with
make a
that.
motion to modify the franchise agreement between Lander County and NB Energy.
For an effective date of
January 1st, was that the date that we were going
January
with?
1st is
January
fine.
1st, 2020? Okay.
And for Lander County to be noted,
Yes, for the taxpayer to be noted that there's a deduction of the tax. Is that correct?
I'll second.
thank you. Anything else that we need on that?
Hmm?
Anything else we need?
No, I think that
We're fine?
satisfies.
Okay, motion by Kathy and second by Brian. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously, thank you. Number 6, county manager for possible action to approve, disapprove, or modify a resolution for the Lander County land spill. If you've had a chance to look this over, this is the one that they have brought forward, our consultant that we hired.
Here's Mr. Ryan Mobile's number. He's our Washington DC contact. If you have any specific questions related to the project.
There is a copy of the draft in your books. We made some changes on it to show Lander County, or Lander County as a whole, as requested.
I've read over the first one, I've read over this one, that we now have it resolved in there with the additions. And I don't know of any, legally, Counselor, you've had a chance to look at that too. Are you okay with that?
I'm okay with the legal parameters of this. It's up to the commissioners what's in it. See, I'm not going to comment on what's in it.
No, just that it's legally proper for us. And this, of course, will be sent on to our delegation.
That's
Or
correct.
can we continue with?
And the entire thing needs to be read in? 'Cause that's-
Yeah.
You want me to read it?
That would be nice, thank you. Much appreciated.
Lander County Board of Commissioners resolution expressing support for the Nevada Congressional Delegation to support federal legislation which promotes public safety, public welfare, public parks, and tourism opportunities in Lander County. Whereas Lander County is comprised of approximately 3.5 million acres of land, and whereas 2.66 million acres, 75.8% of the land in Lander County is administered by the Bureau of Land Management, BLM. And whereas 295,000 acres, 8% of the land in Lander County is administered by the United States Forest Service, U.S. Forest Service, or USFS. And whereas Lander County developed a public lands policy plan in 1983 under direction from legislation passed by the Nevada legislature to prepare in cooperation with appropriate state agencies and local governments throughout the state, plans or policy statements concerning the use of lands in Nevada which are under federal management. And whereas the Lander County Board of County Commissioners adopted its Public Land Policy Plan in 1984, and the Lander County Public Land Use Advisory Planning Commission, PLUAC adopted an update to it in November 1999. And whereas the Public Lands Policy Plan was further updated in 2005 and represents a review of existing and emerging public lands issues that are important to Lander County as it works with federal agencies subject to various environmental and land management statutes. And whereas in October 2010, Lander County adopted a master plan which reviewed existing and emerging public land issues of importance to Lander County and details Lander County's vision and strong policy voice concerning public lands and defines Lander County's public land related issues and needs. And whereas the land use goals in the 2010 master plan were designed to facilitate orderly development consistent with available resources and services in Lander County, to minimize conflicts among land uses, to provide adequate land to support economic development and population growth, and to create a development pattern that is cost effective to serve with municipal services. And whereas the 2010 master plan recognizes that the management of public lands is dynamic and the residents of Lander County continually face new challenges and changes in management of public lands which can affect our local communities and residents. And whereas the 2010 master plan recognizes that wildland fires are common throughout Lander County and that the proximity of Kingston and Austin to wildland areas requires careful management of surrounding fuels and vegetation. And whereas wildfires continue to pose threats to Lander County, such as the Sheep Creek fire near Battle Mountain, which burned approximately 60,000 acres in 2018. And whereas the Bureau of Land Management and the Nevada Division of Forestry have primary responsibilities for wildfires in the area, and Lander County has mutual aid agreements with the Bureau of Land Management and United States Forest Service. And whereas there are 3 airports in Lander County, Austin, Battle Mountain, and Kingston, and expanding and improving the airports in Battle Mountain and Austin to include adjacent lands would support firefighting capabilities. And whereas, according to the Battle Mountain Water and Sewer Master Plan, existing water and sewer systems in Battle Mountain are identified as a major constraint to development in the region. And whereas most of the domestic wells are concentrated in areas around Battle Mountain, and of its estimated 850 domestic wells in Lander County, approximately 514 are located in and around Battle Mountain. And whereas the remaining wells are distributed throughout the county and concentrated in areas such as Reese River Valley, Antelope Valley, and Big Smoky Valley, and whereas there are a total of 18 groundwater basins in Lander County, and only 3 of the groundwater basins in Lander County are hydrologically closed units. And whereas new water sources will need to be developed or sourced to comply with federal drinking water standards, and whereas drinking water protections are mandated by the United States Environmental Protection Agency, and whereas providing for clean and safe drinking water is enhanced by direct municipal ownership of surface and subsurface resources, and whereas Lander County would be uniquely positioned to provide wellhead protection related to current and future water developments. And whereas there are multiple potential water tanks, wells, and treatment plants in the county, Austin, Kingston, and Battle Mountain, they can be acquired from the Bureau of Land Management and the United States Forest Service for the betterment of the county. And whereas, according to the 2010 master plan, Lander County prohibits the creation of new private water and wastewater utility companies in Lander County and has emphasized that water sources will be provided by the local government agencies in Lander County. And whereas the 2010 master plan recognizes the need to protect and preserve water rights, water supply, and water resources in Lander County, as such resources are critical to the local economy and the health and well-being of the community. And whereas the development and use of water in Lander County are critical to current and future development of the region, and water resources play a key role in the major economic activity for the county, including new development, mining, agriculture, and tourism and recreational activities. And whereas the 2010 master plan identified the need for orderly development consistent with available resources and services in Lander County, which provides adequate land to support economic development and population growth, as well as a development pattern that is cost effective to serve with municipal services. And whereas these lands are located to the west of Austin and extend to the airport, and the 2008 Austin Master Plan discusses the types of land uses that would be appropriate for future development. And whereas the community of Battle Mountain has seen a significant shift away from its original commercial core, leaving a large number of infill parcels within Battle Mountain and in some abandoned residential and commercial buildings and sites. And whereas there is a potential for BLM land in Battle Mountain to be made available to ventures that would bring increased tourism and business to the community, like the Battle Mountain Human Powered Vehicle Speed Challenge that has been a fixture of the tourism season in Battle Mountain every year since 2000. And whereas any human-powered speed bikes, HPSB, are allowed at the World Human Powered Speed Challenge, WHPSC, as long as they are powered only by a human being. And whereas Nevada State Route 305 was first used to set human-powered speed records in 2000. On this vastly superior course compared to previous locations, the ultimate world record leaped to an astonishing 71 miles per hour in just a few days and has since jumped to 82.33 miles per hour in 2008, which marks the first time ever that an HPSB has gone faster than 1/10 the speed of sound. And whereas since State Route 305 was first used in 2000, all high-speed world sprint records for HPSB have been set on the Battle Mountain course. And whereas the WHPSC is now in its 20th year, and what started as a small invitational gathering of speed bike enthusiasts attempting to break the top speed record has now grown into an international open with at least 9 countries represented annually. And whereas the size of this event has grown dramatically over the past several years, with competitors, spectators, and media coming to Battle Mountain from around the world. And whereas a permanent dedicated park committed to protecting and managing the road would allow WHPSC and the other world record attempts to advance to the next level of competition. Whereas there are many other groups that have been searching for a track for annual events as well, like the Electrothon racing, solar car racing, ASME racing, paracycling racing, and of course traditional cycling. And whereas many teams in the HPSB would have expressed interest in the use of a large track for design testing and riding training, and whereas the WHPSC brings a large influx of tourism dollars to Battle Mountain, Lander County, and the state of Nevada, supporting the region in various ways, from flights and hotels to rental cars and trucks to local restaurants and shops. Whereas tourism opportunities could be advanced within the township of Austin by acquiring .184 acres of largely unused U.S. Forest Service property located at one of the major intersections in Austin at 3rd and Main, United States Route 50. Whereas the opportunities envisioned by Lander County and local government agencies for the improvement of public land-related issues and expanded economic development can be best achieved through federal legislation. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners of Lander County, Nevada, that we call upon the Nevada Congressional Delegation to advance federal legislation that achieves the following principles. Number 1, convey certain federal lands adjacent to the airports in Austin, Battle Mountain, and Kingston to Lander County. And number 2, convey certain federal lands adjacent to drinking water and sewer systems needed to protect and preserve water rights, supply, and water resources to Lander County. And number 3, convey certain federal lands adjacent to existing recreational and tourism opportunities near Battle Mountain to Lander County. Be it further resolved, a copy of this resolution be mailed to the Nevada delegation. Passed and adopted and approved by the Lander County Commission, Nevada, this 10th day of October 2019. I make a motion to approve the resolution and authorize our chair to sign. Is everybody awake?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Nice, thank you very
Very
much.
much. That was,
Very, very much.
that was a long one, Commissioner. As you gave us all the history, we appreciate that. Okay, you had some public comment?
Yes, please. Sadie Sullivan for the record. My resolution number wasn't assigned for this. I just got a number, maybe have that read into the record, because normally there's a number that's with that. And so I was just able to message my office. And I have that number for you. It's 2019-12.
Thank you.
And I will amend my motion to include the resolution number 2019-12.
And I'll second.
Thank you. It's been moved and read by Commissioner Allen and seconded by Commissioner Kathy. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. With that, we are going to break for 10 minutes, and we'll come back and handle number 7. We got a break, Michelle? Okay. Thank you. Please have a seat. Thank you. Okay, we are reconvening here, and we are at number 7 with the county manager. Michelle, are you on okay? Yes. Thank you. County manager, for possible action to appoint one individual to serve on the Lander Economic Development Authority, the LEDA board, which term expires 6/30/2021. And it is Brandy Mingoa, our new applicant. And she has also put in a letter for our record, and is also currently our county health nurse.
That is correct, yes.
I'll make a motion to appoint Brandy Bingoa to the Economic Development Authority Board, which terms expire, I'm sorry, I've had to stuff in my quote. Term expires 6/30/2021.
I'll second.
Thank you, Kathy made the motion, and Brian seconded that. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, and we appreciate her stepping up for community service and that.
And we'll continue to advertise as well.
Thank you. Number 8, county manager, for possible action to appoint one individual to serve on the Battle Mountain Livestock Events Center Advisory Board, which term expires 6/30/2020. And our new applicant is Monty L. Price.
This was advertised as well, and this will give them 4 on the board of 5, so we will continue to advertise this as well.
I'll make a motion, we appoint Monty L. Price to serve on the Battle Mountain Livestock Event Center Advisory Board, whose term expires 6/30/2020.
I'll second.
Thank you, Brian made the motion, Kathy seconded that. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And again, our thank yous to Monty for stepping up to help us with that advisory board. Number 9, planning department, for possible action to approve or disapprove a parcel map application for Mark and Stacy Pregovich, changing 4 parcels to 1 parcel. APN 003-20114, 003-20115, 003-20102, 003-20101, located at 116 Victorine Drive in Kingston, and zoned R1. Hello, Kyla.
Hi, this is Reb, this is the contractor, and if we can dial him in for any questions that you might have.
We do have the backup, actually, from our Lander County surveyor that said because of the way that it was situated, that they didn't need to do any extra surveying. It went before the planning commission, it was approved.
It was approved conditionally.
Any conditions?
Yeah, the conditions were signatures there, it was turned in, getting the owner's certificate. I believe they got they were able to get the utility certificate, but I was not able to get any other, signatures on it because the owners have not signed it yet, so I've been working with them to try and get them to come in and do that. So that was the condition.
Okay. I was just confused about the names because we've got the Pregovich that actually came forward, yet everything is under CMH Homes Incorporated, so that's,
I can explain that unless you want to hear it from Reb, but it's, the construction company or the people building the house actually have it in their ownership until the project is done and then it's transferred over to the Pregoviches. so that's why it's in the
Okay, but
map
legally, we're all
zoning.
okay with everything?
As long as you carry on the condition of signature. Yeah, I would suggest you don't approve it without that condition.
Thank you.
So I'll make the motion, to approve parcel application for, Mark and Stacy Pragovich, am I saying that right? Changing, 4 parcels to 1, parcel APN 003-201-14, 003-201-15, 003-201-02, 003-201-01, located at 116 Victorine Drive in Kingston, Zone R1, with the same conditions as the planning board has placed on them.
For the how do you want that worded, with the signature?
You can,
With
you
the
can
signature
put down with the
requirements
same,
from the
yeah, you
planning
can
board.
put the same conditions
Mhm,
as
yes.
recommended by the
Planning
Lander
board.
County Planning Commission.
Yes.
And that the ownership be,
And that, and as long as the ownership reverts to
the ownership is going to be predicated on it coming back to the Pragoviches,
right.
right?
Yes.
And authorize me to sign
Sign and
the
authorize
minor,
the chair to sign, please.
the minor, okay.
I'll second.
Thank you, Kathy made the motion and Brian seconded that. Do we have any other discussion? We're all clear? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that passes unanimously.
Go back to the transportation. Great.
We are going to go out of order for right now. We're gonna go back to number 3.
Come on up, Doctor.
Under Commissioners, for possible action and discussion on current transportation concerns within Lander County, specifically Amtrak and Greyhound services, and to possibly explore a county-funded transit system.
I started seeing Dr. Wilcourt, and the first time we met, Dr. Wilcourt brought up some concerns that parallel ours, and I wanted to get Dr. Wilcourt on the record about his concerns. I think it'll give us more strength in moving forward with transportation. This is Dr. Wilcourt for everybody.
Good
Morning, Doctor. Please have a seat.
Thank you.
For the record, I'm Dr. Robin Wilcott, medical practitioner in this community, and I know many of you. And I thank you for giving me the opportunity to come and speak on behalf of our patients and our community. It came to my attention some time ago that many people here have the inability to have ready access to mobile transport for their medical care outside of this community. Many times we have to send people as far as Salt Lake City and Reno, sometimes further than that, but typically those are the two places. A number of people are unable to get to their medical consultations and medical care in a timely fashion because they rely on transport from friends and family, and very frequently those friends and family are unable to carry them to their consultation or therapy on the given day for many reasons. Cars break down, other family members are needing the cars. We live in a poor community. We have a large number of people in this community who are very poor, and they don't have good resources, and so they do rely on family and friends in these circumstances for their transport. Many times I've asked them how have they managed to do so without their friends and family taking them, and they've often relied on things like the bus, Greyhound bus, which, as you know, no longer serves the area. But we do have a train that comes through here, and it seemed to me that having a train come through here and not stop seemed quite silly. And I know it's got nothing to do with you folks, but Amtrak obviously made the decision some time ago that we weren't worth stopping at. But I think that in a rural community, and I know that the government has made noises about the fact that people in rural areas are underserved. This is one of those examples of us being underserved. We have a transport system that's running right through our town and is not able to be accessed by the members in the town. So I've asked quite a few patients, would they use Amtrak if they could to get either to Salt Lake City or to Reno, and many people have said they absolutely would use it because it is convenient. It requires obviously some very interesting infrastructure changes to be made. Obviously, what I call the Northern Line, the one that usually takes people from east to west, doesn't have a proper shelter and no means of getting people necessarily into the town from there. But I think these things can all be addressed. If we could just get Amtrak to stop here on a regular basis, I think this would serve the community well. It doesn't have to be just for patients either, obviously, but I felt very bad for many people who've missed their appointments. They couldn't get to the VA, they couldn't get into Salt Lake, and it just seems so terrible to have something that is right here on our doorstep and we can't access it. So I wanted to come to you and express this. It's a passion for me to see our patients who are, you know, in the poverty level denied even further access to care. That's really heartbreaking.
And on that, I've been working on this as well.
Thank you.
At the last NACO meeting, I started speaking with Alexis Hansen, Assemblywoman, to find out. We've spoken to several, had conversations with several people on trying to figure out how to get this worked out. And the information I got back just the other day from Alexis Hansen was for me to start working with Mark Amadei out of Elko. And see the congressman out of Elko to see where we can get, because this is also an ADA issue. So there's so many, and since it's federal and there's federally funds that are tied into this, it gives us a little bit more of some strength to try to get something worked out on this. So I will be contacting Mark Amadei as soon as possible to find out what he can do to help us, because this is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous that we don't have any service to get people out of this town. And so you know that I've been trying to work on this for the last handful of months and haven't gotten anywhere. But finally I tied her down at the NACO and said, hey, somebody has to help us, you know, because it's gone on deaf ears until this point. So I'm going to try, like I said, starting with Mark Amadei, and then if I can't go to get that, then I have some free friends in the news media to get some blurbs out that, because that always has worked for me in the past. Mm-hmm. And when that gets out there and there's a little bit of an embarrassment that nobody wants to help you, then everybody wants to help you. So I'm going to try to see what we can do to get this worked on. So much appreciate you bringing this up. So.
Now you have a little bit more information that we have disadvantaged people that need
and
transportation.
VA, yes.
And our veterans.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
that should be, help us there.
Yes. So.
And when we talked about the train depots in Winnemucca, it was 11 years ago, and they had the same thing as Elko. I saw the new train depot. That's really nice.
It's excellent.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, if we could get something here, that.
Yes, the one at Elko is rather despicable that it's been allowed to lapse into dilapidation. But the Winnemucca station's superb, and I've used it many times myself. When I've had some medical care that I needed to have taken care of in San Francisco, I've used Amtrak every time. It makes that trip so much better than driving. And I'm just one person, but I've mentioned it to many patients, and they've all said it would be great to have had a good public transport system to connect us to the two major cities that serve us medically.
So yeah, and we actually had some of the Congress people come out here when they came across the United States. They actually use the Amtrak to see, about the stops. So they've been riding them to see how it works as well. So I will, like I said, I will be jumping on this right away to see if I can get Mark Amadei to help us. And as soon as you say VA, or ADA.
Yes.
Like I said, this has a lot more of a bite to
Yes.
it, so I will, be working on this, so thank you very, very much.
All right.
All right?
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you so much for having me
joining
here today.
us.
Thank you.
While we're working on the train system, let me also ask, certainly wouldn't be to Salt Lake City, but it does say to explore some other transit systems. And is there something we can do perhaps with NDOT?
So, if you'll remember, the commission, at budget time, gave, put $150,000 in the budget for a senior transport bus. So, that might be something. I know the community health nurse has asked me about local transport to our community health center, north of the railroad tracks there. So we're looking at some different options that we might be able to set up some type of in-community transport with this bus that we're looking at for the senior center. The other thing, it's very, very preliminary right now, and Kyla just brought this to me yesterday, has to do with our industrial park and a possible spur northwest of town here, out by our sewer plants, where in between the two tracks. That's county land. We were talking about putting a rail spur there, and it did come up about getting with Amtrak and having some type of a stop. If we'd have to work something out with Amtrak, of course, we'd have to have an agreement. In both their north and south lines. So we're looking at different options.
Where's the county property?
It's north, it's just outside of the sewer ponds there. We can bring it at a future agenda item.
Okay.
And actually show it in the maps. But we're talking about the industrial park by the airport. We're running into issues with FAA. We're trying to get through some requirements that FAA has. And Kyla came across this piece of land. It's around 400 acres outside of town here that the county owns. But it's railroad tracks run right through it.
And that's when we talked about the spur a couple years ago, that's where we could have put it, huh?
Well, the other spur we talked about a few years back was out here north of Battle Mountain, or north of I-80, but that was the Nevada Lands property.
Okay.
This land over here is Lander County property right now. It's adjacent to colony land, to the land out there, the Indian colony land. So we're looking at some different options.
Okay.
We're also looking at the bus option for a local transport or some type of transport to Elko or Winnemucca. We haven't expanded our transport discussions past that now. We're still very initial in the discussions.
I'm still gonna go back and ask if maybe you could contact NDOT to see if there's anything, because I know in a lot of different areas, they do use the NDOT transportation for medical services for senior citizens, for medical services, things like that.
And I did talk with Lee Bonner actually several times, and Kyla's I think talked with him as well called the Tiger Grant. It's a transportation grant that we've looked at. I'm not sure what information you got, Commissioner, but when we met with Senator Cortez Masto, and then the week before we met with her Washington DC staff regarding this, the discussion we had was they were pretty limited because of it's a private corporation, Amtrak, but there's no federal funding.
There is federal funding for them.
Okay.
There's no federal funding for the bus system.
Right.
Oh, maybe I got it mixed up.
Yeah,
then.
the buses,
Okay.
that we can't do anything about
Okay,
the bus
alright.
system, but there is federal funding that goes into Amtrak.
Okay, all right, so then there would be some leverage there.
Yes, and that's what this
for-
letter also says from, Alexis Hansen, Southern Woman. She said there is a leverage in there because of the federal funding.
Okay,
So,
all right. So
Greyhound stopped coming, has anybody reached out to them to find out why they stopped the run, to maybe potentially secure them for?
We did at the time.
Yeah, at the
Right.
time.
Yes, yes.
And it had to do with, they were talking about, and this has been several months back, just a summer stop in Battle Mountain. But it's the winter driving, I think, that has their concern when they get out to northeastern Nevada. So there has been no other discussion.
Because they cut basically almost everybody off on
Yes.
I-80, they're not stopping in Winnemucca or Elko, and they're not interested
Right.
in it, and when we spoke to, Cortez Masters, she's like, there is nothing we can do to, I mean, it's a private industry, that goes on deaf ears where the Amtrak is different, so I try to put our energy that way.
Okay,
When we heard they were going to stop, we were quite active on it at the time and did
Yeah.
all the outreaches we could, and there was nothing. Unfortunately, it all fell on deaf ears.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that we can't continue with what we're doing now
Mhm.
and look. And the thing about, if we could get at the small bus, whether we use the senior center or whatever, the nice thing about that is that they can actually, when they have to go to Elko for a medical appointment, they can wait for them and pick them up again. Where, of course, the time of day that the trains run are another whole thing. But getting them to San Francisco and Salt Lake City are the big ones on that.
right.
But anybody else locally here, whether they're going to Winnemucca or to Elko, would be most efficient if we had a bus of some type, so alternate transportation, I guess. Okay,
They could always, that bus could always transport people to catch the train in Winnemucca too.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, that's a good idea.
Plus, people have appointments in Reno too, and the train to Reno, of course, would be great. Okay,
Patsy, can the vets go to any doctor now?
yes,
Okay, but when they have procedures, they have to go to the vet hospital?
not always.
Okay.
If they're over 100 miles from one of the VA facilities, they
Okay.
have the exception.
Okay.
So, which is wonderful. Number 10, Building Department. For possible action, the proposal of ordinance 2019-01, amending Title 15, Chapter 12 of the Lander County Code by repeal and amendment to adopt the latest building codes and provide simpler updating thereof.
So this was the discussion we had just a couple of weeks ago.
Yes,
the
this is from the
updated
last
version.
meeting.
Okay.
Some clarification in language.
Anna Panola with the building department.
Morning, Anna.
Good morning.
So this is the amendment of our first resolution this year, right?
This is the beginning. Do we need to read this?
Patsy, does it need to be read in?
No, the resolution's already passed. We have to do the amendment.
This is the proposal of the new ordinance, so if you're, go for it, it has to be read by title.
Has to be read by
Title,
title?
yeah. You have to read the title into the record. Because this is the ordinance, the actual ordinance.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
look, look.
we have to read the ordinance in,
No, just
Just the
just the
title.
title, okay.
And it's ordinance number 2019-01.
Okay, well, that sounds good enough. That's short.
I'll make a motion, we approve ordinance number 20190 -01, titled an ordinance amending Title 15, Chapter 12 of the Lander County Code by repeal and amendment to adopt the latest building codes, provide simpler updating thereof, and other matters related thereto.
I'll
Second.
Kathy seconds.
Judy made the motion, Kathy seconded. Okay, any other information we need on that
That's all we need to do for that.
for right now?
For the
Okay,
first step.
okay. It's been moved and seconded. Do we have any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
Okay, and that passes unanimously. We're on our way. Building Department, for possible action to approve or disapprove contractor working for Lander County to be able to store equipment and supplies on county property while working for the county.
So this has come up several times, and it's related to our tree service individual that's parked behind the building. So I got with Anna and we wanted to bring it before the commission to get a decision on it. It's common that we allow a contractor to store equipment in the back. Public Works has allowed them to store equipment at the building, or at the Public Works yard, road and bridge yard. It's been ongoing for a long time. The instructor, or the contractor has insurance, county has insurance. It's a savings to the county. It would be an additional charge for either mileage, or if we were gonna have him store his equipment outside of the county, property. So I just would like to get some type of a decision on if it's okay or not for the contractor to store his equipment on county property, whether it be here, the road and bridge yard,
Kingston, Alliston.
Austin,
Austin,
correct.
yeah.
So let me ask you this question, so if we do state something that we're, acceptance of it, what do you have when somebody comes in that's doing something for county that has 50 pieces of equipment? Do we have the abilities to be able to,
We would have other, it's not just it's any Lander County property.
okay,
So if we had, for instance, 50 pieces of equipment, we've got the land over by, the old, our old offices there where the community health nurse
Gotcha.
is. There's the rodeo grounds, there's the 7 acres, I believe, 5 or 7 acres behind the current road and bridge yard that's,
yeah, I don't have a problem, as long as, I mean, if the taxpayers are benefiting, which it sounds to me like they are, because of cost reduction, I don't have a
Well,
problem.
we have done this in the past, this isn't
It's a past
unusual,
precedence,
right?
yes, it's been ongoing.
I guess that now that we're making it formal though, I guess my question is, and I know they have insurance because they have to have, if they're contracted with us. But what I am wondering is if we need contractually a waiver to say that we're not responsible for your
Yeah.
equipment.
If somebody breaks into our yard, gets in the tree bucket, and gets up there and plays, and falls off and dies, are we gonna be liable as a county because it was on our property?
It would be nice to have a waiver of liability that goes along. with it.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
all, just the waiver is the only thing, because we know that we're covered with insurance if we're contracted with them.
that'd be simple to write up, Ted.
Yeah.
And then we could just have the contractor sign it at the time that the job starts.
Just a simple waiver.
And it's a
They're
hold harmless
welcome to
type of thing.
use our property to leave it here on, but that they're responsible first and not us.
So, this is something that I've had an issue with, and it's really not personal against any particular company. I am concerned about the liability, and irregardless of whether they have their own liability or Lander County has theirs, it is depriving private business of profit. There are other places that contractors can securely store their equipment. And also, basically the statement stating, they can, by parking it on county property, they can do it cheaper. That might be kinda a little fine line between pushing an NRS violation on competitive business and kickbacks. So, we gotta be careful with that too, because if you're saying that they're giving us a cheaper bid because they're parking on county property, it's not legal.
I'm not saying that at all.
Kinda what is implied.
Let me, I didn't say it was a cheaper bid, I said it's a savings because we're not paying mileage or travel time. Or if we say, okay, go store your equipment, you can't store it on county property, go store it at Clark, as an example, at Clark's facility. He'll build that, or the company's gonna build that into their bid, a storage, fee. So, that was not, I don't wanna make it sound like we're trying to get kickbacks or any kind of a cheap
I
bid.
understand that, but it's also because we are giving them that benefit, is they are not charging us that. It's still,
But that's
it's
overall,
not an equal bid.
but it's an overall savings to the county taxpayers. That's the bottom line. We're not trying to, I still don't understand the kickback part of it. That kinda caught my ear, but it's not.
me see if I'm understanding it right. We've got bidders that have been successful in the past, and they know they can use our county property and not have to take this couple big machines back and forth, okay? We have two more bidders that have bid us in the past, have not been successful. They may not know that they can use the county property, so they're bidding it in their bid to take the machinery back and forth. Is that what you're saying? So it may not be, we need to be clearer in our bids, perhaps, so that everybody is on the same plate, right?
Well, I
Does that
guess
make
that's a
sense?
possibility. I guess the other thing I have to
Some
state
are
is,
building in storage and some are not.
right, is, I'm
No.
sorry, you can go rent a secure storage spot from Randy Clark for $50 a month.
I don't,
Okay.
excuse me, I don't mean to, it has nothing to do with security. Because they were parking outside the secured area, and that ended up being a problem too. It has nothing to do with secure parking or storage or anything else. They just want to be able to leave their equipment so they can come back and finish the job.
If we've already put the.
And this is past
Yeah,
precedence.
if we've already given them the contract to do it, regardless of who we've given the contract to, it doesn't, I don't see where the problem is allowing them with a waiver to park their stuff on the property. I mean, I don't see where it's an issue. Unless you had the bid, you looked at the bid and you break it down and tell me everything, and they're gonna say, we're gonna charge, we're getting charged $50 every night for storing our vehicle wherever. I don't see where that's truly added into the bid. It's just a convenience and and as far as kickbacks, I don't understand where a kickback will be, because this is a savings to the county, and there's not one of us in here that's getting a kickback from it. If anybody's getting a kickback, it'd be the taxpayers, and I'm sure they appreciate saving money, if that's actually the essence of it, by storing their equipment there. I don't know, I don't understand with just a waiver why it has to be truly beat to death and a big deal.
The intent behind this was, as Commissioner Allen pointed out, that she had an issue with it. And we've had multiple discussions on it. And I wanted to come and get the board's decision on what to do. I'm happy to tell the contractor he can't store it on county property, or he can, or they can or can't store it on county property. I just want the board's decision.
And this isn't just gonna be the tree trimmer, this is gonna be Honeywell, this is gonna be, go ahead, Bert.
So, Bert Ramus for the record, so we gotta be careful, this is kinda, we're beating a dead horse here, because every contractor that comes into Leonard County, regardless of who they are, they're leaving their equipment on county property as they're doing jobs. When they're done digging their trench, putting a pipeline in, they park their backhoe there for the night and they leave.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're making it more than what it is.
So-
Yeah, past practice, so we've covered this a little more in depth previously. When the county lent a piece of equipment to a contractor to finish a job for that day because one of their pieces of equipment had broke down. And the previous board had already said that was no problem, that with Keith's approval, in an emergency situation like that, we could do that, which may be more of a benefit to the contractor at the time if something were to happen, right? But that's already been discussed. I think that if we start venturing down this road, whether we provide a secure laydown yard or not, they're parking all their equipment on county property every night when they're done with the job.
Yeah, they are.
So I'd like to kind of clarify something on that, is when you issue a contract, on public works, et cetera, basically, that may be county property. That property falls under the responsibility of the contractor at that time. In some respects, they own that property, they are liable for it until the contract is complete. And so, parking it alongside the road, parking it out, when you're doing a pipeline, water line, whatever, that's a different aspect or scenario than parking it in a secure, gated, locked county property.
He'll park out front.
I think we gotta remember too that this could become something to where we are giving a local contractor an undue advantage. Say they do have a locked, secure yard, and how do we get an outside bidder to come in and compete with them if they do have that and we aren't willing to make it an even playing field for everybody?
It's $50 a month to go rent a spot to park a vehicle.
I think it's good
I
business.
think Well,
Other
and you're
information.
entitled to your opinion and I'm entitled to mine. I'm just saying that I don't feel it's the county's responsibility to provide secure storage for, contractors' equipment.
No
And as
disrespect,
far
but I
as,
don't think the county's
I'm
doing
not
that.
finished, Anna. I will have to say that, past practice, I'm not sure where how much past you're going into, but, I know that wasn't always the case. That it hasn't always been past practice to allow that,
From my research, it has.
okay?
Would
I
you
think
like
we-
me, commissioners, would you like me to, this has to do with the tree guy. This is all based on the tree guy, because he's parked his equipment in the back. And there was liability concerns, and Commissioner Allen and I had that discussion. This guy's from out of the area, there's no question about it. He beat, and I hate to say it, but he beat our local guy by $40,000. $40,000 is what he beat the local guy by. So, part of it was, we would allow him to store equipment on county property.
And there you go. That is back to, he's getting a preferred benefit.
Judy, hold on a second. I don't see, this is freaking ridiculous. For how, exactly what Bert said, contractors working on it, whenever that equipment is not operating, it's on county property. And we're making a mountain out of a molehill, and it's ridiculous. Honestly, it is. Sitting here trying to see both sides, it's ridiculous. I don't think we need to change a damn thing. We'll just continue on how we've done it for however long we've been doing it.
Thank you, Brian.
Jesus.
And I know that we've been doing it for at least 15 or 20 years because working for the county, there were contractors' vehicles at the road and bridge when they were doing projects, so I know that it's as far as me paying attention where I lived, because I lived down the street from them, and they would pull in the evening and park in there, so I know at least 15 years. And so, I just, like he said, we're beating a dead horse, and let's just get this done and over with, and
Commissioners, with your approval, if you would leave this in my hands, or whoever's in this position in the future, leave it in the hands of the county manager. I think it's clearly an operational issue. I'll work with the district attorney on a hold harmless agreement, and we'll cover it from there, if that works for this commission.
As long as we have no liability, I have no problem.
me either.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I'll make a motion that we give Keith the authority for a variance if needed when we're talking about these construction companies and needing to park their equipment on county property.
Along with the waiver of liability.
I can't hear you.
Along with the waiver of liability.
Yes, with the waiver of liability.
I'll second.
So my question, do we need that as a motion since we've been doing it all along, other than just the fact that we need the waiver of
Just,
liability?
yeah, we need,
The waiver.
And it clarifies it.
Since
Yeah.
it's on the agenda, Brian,
Okay,
it's probably a good idea.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, so Art made the motion and Brian seconded it. Is there any other discussion?
Yeah, I would like to say something.
I'm sorry.
Yes, I would like to say something. I think it was a valid item on the agenda and legitimate, and to get upset about it, I'm not upset. I think it was fine. We had a discussion, but, if you guys are gonna have issues,
Okay, thank you. We have a motion on the floor. I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
nay.
Thank you, so recorded.
Excuse me, commissioners, can
And
I,
it does pass, yes.
as a resident of Lander County, this certain individual, Dave, who trimmed trees, came in at 1/3 of the cost to remove a tree from my house, when the local tree trimmer lives a mile from me. So not only is it a savings to the county and everyone, it is also a savings to the residents and taxpayers of this county and other businesses and entities that are here. So, small steps, but it encompasses everything.
Thank you, we appreciate your public
Thank you,
comment.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Anna. Number 12, we're moving to correspondence. Correspondence reports potential upcoming agenda items.
Commissioners, I have, the BLM back on the agenda for a complete update on everything. I also have, we'll bring the Civic Center back with an actual rate chart and make some, ask you to make some determination on the 501c, and the nonprofits and so forth.
Along with that, we had asked the Civic Center before, when Rita was here, during budget, that we do a quarterly report on that, so we know how many nonprofits and what we're getting charged and everything. We haven't seen any reports on that, so
Alright.
perhaps we could have that at the same time.
You're getting, our public defender reports?
I got your public defender's
Yeah,
report.
he started sending them,
Thank
or
you.
they started sending.
Well, that is, we asked for that
Yes,
quarterly too, and
absolutely,
I
yep.
appreciate that.
Okay.
That's the way we keep track of it all. I did notice in the billing, Summit Engineering, had another, amount in there for Austin, and I do believe they were supposed to be totally done this summer, and they're still not, so,
Would you
we
like it
need
back?
some kind of an update from someone, of what in the world is going on? Austin is just beside themselves trying to,
With the what, Patsy, on this?
Summit Engineering with
Realignment?
the alignment for Austin.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, we probably don't need to put on the agenda, but I do need to know about the youth center and where we are on that. So if we want an update on the Austin Youth Center, that would be good, just to see where we are and how we're going forward.
And we'll have that, resolution, right, next time for the water sewer too?
Anything else?
Depends on how the dates will be the next.
I'd like to add to that if I may.
November 7th.
Just to give you a heads up or to
I'm sorry, are you,
Sadie Sullivan.
no.
Oh,
I thought you gave your name, saying, no, what I meant was, we're dealing with, agenda item, is that,
Correct.
that's what you're
Yeah.
dealing with? Thank you.
I just wanna make sure that, on our advertisement for that ordinance, we'll wanna put, item number 1, I believe it says 9:15 for the ordinance where it's a hearing, 9:10, okay, 9:10. So on the next agenda for the ordinance, we'll just need to make sure, that we have that for item number 1 at 9:10 for
Oh,
the
for the
ordinance.
reading of it?
For the
Correct.
hearing.
Okay.
Yep, for the
Public
hearing to
comment?
make sure that we follow that through legally.
For the adoption.
Correct,
Thank
Yeah.
you.
okay, thank you.
9:10?
you.
9:10, please.
Okay, nothing else? Okay. Well, then we'll move into public comment. For non-agendized item only, persons are invited to submit comments in writing and/or attend or make comments on any non-agenda item at the board meeting, if any, and discussion of those comments at the discretion of the board. All public comment may be limited to 3 minutes per person. Again, at the discretion of the board, reasonable restrictions may be placed on public comments based upon time, place, and manner. The public comment based upon viewpoint may not be restricted. Any public comment? Okay, hearing none, we'll remind you there is a litigation meeting, so please stay after we've got everything all signed, and, motion,
I'll make a motion.
Second.
motion to adjourn. By
Sorry.
Kathy, seconded by Brian, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? There you go, thank you so much. Thank you, Michelle.
I'm gonna go get ready to leave for my concert.
Yeah, babe, I'll be there in a little bit.
Yeah, I gotta pack. I gotta call and check on my.
Ron, don't forget your paperwork.